Well, it happened earlier today as police were investigating 911 calls of burglaries in progress in a Midtown neighborhood. The call was from the 4000 block of East Elmwood Road. That's near Broadway in Alvernon. You can see that on your screen, just east of Elcon Mall. Sergeant Robert Carpenter was among those responding, and he was shot in the head by someone. Police aren't sure who did it since they didn't see it. Sergeant Carpenter is 46 years old and has worked for TPD for 12 years. He's currently assigned as patrol sergeant in the Midtown Division, working the midnight shift. Here's the timeline as provided by Tucson Police. The first call came in at 1:43 this morning. A Hispanic man was seen fleeing from the home on foot. Police say a second call was made from the same home at 5:15 this morning. Officers again responded, including Sergeant Carpenter. Police say they didn't see anyone, but one shot was fired at 5:30 this morning. That shot struck Sergeant Carpenter in the head. Well, the injured officer was rushed into surgery at University of Arizona Medical Center. And 9 on your side's Maggie Vespa is live with more on this 9 on your side crime alert. Maggie.
That's right, Corey. Earlier, this entire neighborhood was swarming with SWAT teams, canine units, helicopters swarming overhead. But as you can see over my shoulder here, much of the investigation is now really confined to the scene of the shooting. But authorities say in no way does that mean this search is winding down. The problem, though, tonight, officers say they're not exactly sure who they're searching for. They say they have no reason to believe that that man spotted during that first call, who you talked about, was the shooter. In fact, they say in the heat of that terrifying moment, no one saw who pulled the trigger. Roughly 10 minutes after that second call, the scene was supposed to be safe.
They were still standing at the property when a loud noise was heard, and one of our officers, identified as Sergeant Robert Carpenter, fell.
TPD Chief Roberto Villasenor says officers pulled Carpenter to cover, not knowing where the shooter was or if he had bigger plans.
We don't know if the suspect who shot Sergeant Carpenter was involved in the burglary, or if this was just an ambush on the officers, or what the situation or motive was at this time.
Sergeant Carpenter was taken by ambulance to University of Arizona Medical Center with a gunshot wound to the head. Following surgery, he's stable but in critical condition. The chief describes him as responsive, his prognosis good. Back on the scene, the hunt was on.
We're not holding back anything on this search. We brought out the helicopter. We brought our SWAT personnel.
For several hours, police combed surrounding areas, blocking off streets, going through yards, searching for the gunman block by block, house by house. Late this morning, a break.
It had to be somebody that knew there was no door there.
75-year-old Mary Marino lives in ground zero of the search. Police tell her the bad guys used her old shed out back to stash stolen goods.
And that was a shock to me because I was in the shed just last evening around 5 o'clock because I was putting my Christmas decorations.
Makes it hit a little closer to home, I would think.
Yes. Yes.
A feeling shared by Marino's neighbors who awoke to a police presence like nothing they'd ever seen. You came outside and they saw you.
They didn't. I went out front this morning in my bathrobe, as I usually do, to get the paper out of the driveway, and saw the police had barricaded the whole neighborhood down, and they shouted for me to go back in the house. It's very scary. So I think the neighborhood's I'm definitely on edge. I think the neighbors are definitely on edge.
Residents were told to stay inside through the afternoon as police continued their search for the person or persons who dared to target one of their own.
We're going to bring all of our forces to bear on this. This is just not something that's going to go away. We're going to find this individual. We're going to apprehend them.
And police are pulling out all the stops, as you just heard, including resources from the U.S. Marshal's Office and the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. At the same time, though, we're learning more about this gunman and the destruction he or she may have had planned. The bullet that entered Sergeant Carpenter's skull was a large one. Authorities say it was at least a .22 caliber. Now, here is the description police are giving us of the man they saw running away from that first call. He's Hispanic, 20 to 30 years old, with balding hair. He was wearing a dark blue jersey with the number 43 on it in red. Police also say he may have been wearing a baseball cap similar to the one you see here. If you have any information, you are asked to call 911 or 88 Crime. Live near Midtown, I'm Maggie Vespa, KGUN-9 on your side.
Maggie, real quick, how about the other officers on the scene when Sergeant Carpenter was shot? How are they doing?
Well, Corey, the chief tells us that they are understandably very shaken. He did say, though, he is very proud of them, saying that they acted in line with their training and acted bravely, pulling Carpenter to safety as soon as he was shot.
All right. Thanks, Maggie.